Fort John. Oh.
Hi, my name is Diana O'Brien, and I am a tour guide at Grant Cottage, and I'm on the board of directors. Many years ago, my husband and I went and visited Mount Vernon, George Washington's home. And we went down this path, and we went and saw George Washington and Martha Washington's crypt. And I noticed a sign directing us to a slave cemetery. And we walked down the path, and there we were, surrounded by the graves of some of George Washington's slaves. And I remember how incredibly emotional I got. It took me completely by surprise, thinking that there were people buried there that spent their whole life enslaved, their whole life, never knowing freedom. And I just was crying for them. What kind of life did they have? So, flash forward about 3 years ago, and at a party on Lake Champlain, my friend, Bill Paden, we call him Duke, was all excited, and he told me about a enslaved people's cemetery right here in New York State. I couldn't believe it, and not too far away in Stormville, New York. And he and his son and other people found out about it, and they restored the cemetery. In fact, he even brought me pictures of the whole thing, which we're going to show at our program. So anyway, that all of a sudden, the idea of presenting a program on enslaved people's cemeteries around the country, and maybe even their funeral practices, it just mushroomed because of Duke.
He just felt so much sadness.
Yeah.
When you did discover it, you felt so much sadness,
Yeah, I
right?
sure did.
When you found the cemetery, how did it look when you first saw it?
It was like a regular cemetery.
Was it in disarray or?
No, it wasn't that bad.
But it needed to be cleaned up.
Oh yeah, it had to be cleaned up and raked up, and leaves and stuff and all that.
And your son was the one that told you about it.
Yeah, Justin, right?
Yeah.
Justin?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know,
I said, Dad, when you going down there? Oh, where?
yeah.
And boom, I shot right out of there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was reading in this pamphlet that roughly 80 to 120 people are buried there.
Yeah.
When you look at the pictures, it doesn't
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah. And, you don't think of people that were enslaved, in New York State, but they were. I can't remember when they outlawed it, but they were all over the state. And I think it would be very, very interesting to go and visit these graves.
Yes.
Either in New York or...
There's several in New York.
There are several, right.
In New York.
And in Virginia even, we'll go farther down south, because they are forgotten people, and their graves need to be honored. And we at Grant Cottage, hopefully in our own little way, will be able to honor all those folks that never had the taste of freedom. And you were telling me that you have a friend where you live that might have a distant relative that's buried in that cemetery.
Yes. Right near Greenhaven Prison, there is a Baptist African American church. And there's some ancestors from that were in that area for a couple hundred years. Now, this guy, General Storm, was a Revolutionary War, and he had slaves. This is how the story goes. It's in the book, too. Yeah, and what was the slave's name? Was it Eppie, the slave's name? Eppie?
Yep, Eppie.
They said the torrents came, and they hung this man in his house, which is still there. And the slave saved his life. She cut him down and saved his life. And her stone, you can still see. A lot of the stones, you can't read them, but, from the naked eye, I wouldn't even, it looked like a stone to me. but they're grave markers. There's only a few stones that you can see, and it is in the book. But yeah, he had, like you said, up to 120 people are buried there. And what happened was, a builder in the area, it was handed down to a couple builders, but they built all these homes out there. And somebody happened, this is a story, I don't know if it's true or not, somebody happened to go by and said, that's a cemetery. You can't, you can't, build over there, or it's right on the Fishkill Creek too. And so they put up a really nice iron rod fence. But after that, they just left it, and it was in disarray until Duke found it, and my son brought him out there, and they started working on it, cutting the grass, planting flowers. They have a bench there. They put up a flagpole. They have the American flag there. And some people, the bystanders would go by, and they'd give them a couple bucks, like to get flowers for the cemetery or something. But he put a lot of hard work into that. I don't know if in Dutchess County Historical Society if they give a tour of the Storm House, but it's in the pictures in the book that the old part of the house is still, that's where he was apparently hung, still up, and they have a new addition to the house. But
Well, I'll tell you, it was, for me, it was so exciting to think about honoring these people and honoring where they were laid to rest, and and thinking about the life that they had. And we are really excited about this program. Like I say, we're going to have reenactors coming up, a lot of them from Albany, New York, doing a mock funeral, and we're going to have people singing, we're going to have music, and several speakers. So I hope that you go on the Grant Cottage website, www.grantcottage.org.
Oh, John, oh,